The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Las Vegas, Nevada, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37397. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start just under the front bumper, where you'll find two open-ended tow hooks located on the passenger and driver side. As we move up onto the face of the bumper, you'll find your mechanical siren. On the passenger side, just inside of that location, you'll find your PA speaker and electronic sirens. As we move to the driver's side face of the front bumper, you'll find dual air horns. Moving up onto the cab area on the outer edge, you'll find your turn indicator marker light. Just inside that location, you'll find the headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. Moving further up on the face of the cab, you'll find forward-facing emergency warning lights. And then as we look to the Pierce logo, directly behind that is where you'll find the release mechanism to gain access into the hood area. As we move up onto the windshield, there are 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. And as to the outer edges, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving to the brow of the apparatus, you have 5 identification clearance lights. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Moving up onto the roof of the apparatus is where you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located in the center of the light bar is where you'll find your Opticom device. Moving over to the driver's side, directly over the top of the light bar area is where you'll find your spotlight, controlled from within inside the cab area. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items that we just talked about. First, let's start back with the front bumper area. Then we'll move up to the top section for the emergency warning light bar. Let's take a look under the hood area, where you'll find on the passenger side the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. As we move to the driver's side, you'll find the container for coolant. This is the overflow. And you'll also find instructions for cab lift operations for raising the cab and also lowering the cab. As we move to the right, you'll also find a remote unlock button for your door locks. And then moving to the right, you'll find a remote and also control module for the cab lift. As we move all the way to the right, you'll find your power steering fluid reservoir. Let's take a look at a full view of the side of the vehicle. This is the driver's side. Let's focus in on the cab section. Let's first start with the front bumper extension, where you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Let's also move just to the A-pillar, where you'll find your shoreline power inlet. And then just in the stepwell area is where you'll find a fill location for truck air. Moving down to the front axle, you'll find Michelin tires, Alcoa wheels, and a visual sight gauge for the front axle. Easily accessible with a gloved hand and also keyed. These are the door lock and latch. As we move just to the right, you'll find grab handles for gaining access in and out of the cab. Directly over the front axle is where you'll find at the top roof line a side-facing floodlight. We'll take a look at some close-ups first with the front tire. Once again, Michelin tires, Alcoa wheel, visual sight gauge. We'll move now to the shoreline inlet, 20 amp, and then we'll take a look at the air inlet. General view of the midsection of the apparatus. We'll come back to this in just a few moments. Let's take a look at the body section. Let's start in the lower section. There are folding wheel chocks loaded in front and also to the rear of the rear axle. Marker turn indicator light just in front of the rear axle. Your hopper for absorbent and also SCBA storage. Emergency warning light just over the rear axle. As we move to the top section toward the rear, side-facing scene light and also a side-facing rear emergency warning light. Let's move around to the rear of the apparatus, take a quick look at that. We'll come back to this in a few moments. Let's move around to the passenger side full view. Same configuration and layout in the body section. Same configuration and layout in the cab section. Pump panel area. Let's go ahead and start now moving inside the cab. We'll start on the driver's side. First, let's start affixed to the door panel safety and warning placard information. You'll also find your door lock and latch, electric window controls, and a grab handle. Down in the lower portion, you'll find a folder storage location. And then as we move inside to the floor area, on about the right ankle of the operator on the vertical wall is where you'll find this placard, manufactured for your department by Pierce Manufacturing. This has the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, all fluid capacities for components, fluid capacity, and fluid type. As we move to the floorboard, you'll find a foot pedal. This is controlled for the mechanical siren. As we move upward to about the left knee of the operator, you'll find at the top your transmission, engine, and ABS diagnostic port, a tech module port, and also a display port. This is for your maintenance team. As we move further down, you'll find ABS diagnostics, DPF, regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit switch. As we move to the center column, our vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system and then also controls for emergency lights, air horn. As we move to the dash, you'll find your 4-way flashers or hazards, start and ignition, emergency master, headlights, and also panel lights. Panel lights allow you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator dash area. To the right, you'll find the OK to engage the high idle switch and indicator. Let's move up to the dash cluster. On the left, you'll find your transmission, oil, def level, and water temp. As we move to the right side of the cluster, you'll find front air, rear air, volts, and fuel. Tachometer and speedometer located directly in the center. Diagnostic information will display above and below the speedometer. Let's take a general look to the right of the driver's seat, and we'll start first with the yellow diamond, which is your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. You'll also find your Pierce command zone located here, touchscreen, and also function button. Tremendous amount of information right at your fingertips. See the owner's manual for more information. Allison transmission pad. Moving further to the right, you'll find your climate control for heat, air conditioning, and defrost. We'll talk about these subsets of switches in a few moments. And then also as we move to the right, you'll find at the top section controlled from either the officer or driver side. This is the go light spotlight located on the top of the vehicle. And then also your traffic advisor. Just beneath that, your pump shift. Let's go back to the command zone. First, once again, a tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips. Please see the owner's manual for more information. As we move to the right, Allison transmission pad, push button, digital readout, informational note, pump and drive. We'll move just to the right with the switching panel. First, an air horn select switch, siren brake, which is in red for the mechanical siren, and load manager. As we move down to the rocker switches, you'll find an engine brake on and off switch, settings for low, medium, and high, and then also mirror heat. Let's move further to the right where you'll find your traffic advisor and then also your pump shift. There are instructions from road to pump and then also from pump to road. Just as a reminder, you need 2 green indicators, pump engaged and OK to pump for pump operations before exiting the cab. As we move up onto the top of the console, you'll find your go light. This is controlled the spotlight on the top of the cab area. Also, you'll find controls for the flat mirror and convex mirror just to the rear and 12-volt access via USB style. Climate control, heat, air conditioning, and defrost are located in the front section. General view overhead of the roof area. We'll focus in now onto the driver's side. Directly over the driver's space is where you'll find the height of the vehicle, 10 feet 2 inches, length 32 feet 0.25 inches, gross vehicle weight rating 55,000 pounds. Also some switches here for emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, high beam flash, and opticom. When any of these switches have been pushed or activated, they will illuminate the outer edge of the bezel. Moving further to the right, you'll find your control for your siren and PA speaker system. Also, momentary opticom, front scene light, driver side scene, passenger side scene. Let's move toward the center console of the roof section. At the very front section, difficult to see in this image, this is your traffic collision avoidance sensor. As we move toward the rear, you'll find do not move your apparatus when the light is on, indicating a compartment open or door ajar. Also, seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green they're in the seat and belted. As we move behind the driver's seat, you'll find your backup camera speaker, volume control on the face, and then also you'll find located here the handle for the manual cab tilt. Let's move around to the rear section of the crew cab area. Take a quick look down at the step area, and then we'll move back up to the door panel. Once again, affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and grab handle. As we move over the top section, push on and off white or red lens lights, also your intercom system and air conditioning. Let's move to the rear section of the cab. There are 2 rear-facing SCBA seats. You'll also find 2 forward-facing seats and then EMS compartments on each side of those seats. As we move inside the front section, let's look at the rear section of the engine. Lift and turn latch gains you access to your daily checks for oil and transmission. And then we'll take a quick look toward the rear cab wall. And then there are also compartment storage located in the seat riser. Let's go ahead and move exterior now. We'll start down at the very base of the cab where you'll find your jumper location for your batteries. Let's move back up to the crosslay area where you'll find 3 crosslays. Crosslay 1, 2, and 3. They are all foam capable. Also a warning placard here regarding entanglement hazard. Because of those lines coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. As we move to the top section of the gray module, you'll find your master intake gauge. Moving just to the right, your master discharge gauge. In between the 2 of those, test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged and they are utilized for testing purposes. As we move down, we have a few placards located on the left. First, your Husky 12 foam system specifications and then also operating instructions. To the right, the red module is the control module for your Husky 12. Also to the right, you have a foam system level indicator for the amount of foam in the tank. To the right, once again in the gray module, your pressure throttle governor. Also, you'll find just to the right of that location an audible speaker. The outer edge of that bezel does rotate to allow you to dampen or brighten the sound. Let's move down onto the pump panel. We'll start on the far left with the pump overheat. We have an audible and visual alarm. Also, as we move down, you'll find the reel rewind switch, booster reel, which is foam capable, and then also crosslays 1, 2, and 3 clustered, once again foam capable. As we move further to the right, you'll find your deck gun in this upper section also. And then as we move down, you'll find your green wheel valve. This is the large diameter passenger side discharge. And then also you'll find all of our 2.5 discharges, 1, 3, 2, and 4, clearly color-coded and labeled. As we move to the right, you'll find the engineer side rear discharge and then also the captain side rear discharge. The captain side is foam capable. As we move further to the right, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. Just to the right of that location is where you'll find the engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. Let's move down to the gray module, which is going to be a switch panel module. We have your panel lights and then also an indicator in this for OK to pump. Moving further to the right, a water tank level indicator. Also a warning placard. When climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. Moving down, you'll find the tank to pump. Fire pump primer. There are instructions just below for 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Let's move down on the pump panel. Identify the 2.5 discharges located on this side. Also, we'll find our air supply and also a garden hose outlet. As we move further to the right, American flag Eagle Pierce logo is your pump intake. Moving to the right, you'll find your pump drain. And then further to the right, you'll find your manual pump shift. As we move down to the very bottom section of the pump panel, we'll start on the far left side, first with a warning placard. Only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after they've received proper training. Your minimum operation maintenance placard, which we'll go over next, and then also all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. As we move back to the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi test pressures, the associated GPM on the plaque is located on the left, and the associated RPM located on the right. We do have a governed speed of 2,130 RPM. Engineer side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female locally controlled ball valve. Also your Watrous placard indicating the type of pump that you have, which is 1,500 GPM. Moving further to the right, we have an additional warning placard indicating foam failure hazard. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. As we move down, you'll find the auxiliary foam functions for foam inlet, strainer, and drain. Also to the left, you'll find this placard located on the back of the pan door indicating for operations in a vertical position and for fill operations in a horizontal position. You also have a pull-out tray located on the very bottom section of your pump area. As we move through the compartments now, let's start at the very top section of this compartment. First, when plugged into shoreline power, these two outlets are active, which is your shoreline outlet controlling your air compressor and then also controlling your battery charger. Also in the upper right, you have a 12-volt barrel style. As we move down, you'll find the tank drain and then all of our tanks for wet drain. As we move further down, just in front of the rear axle, you'll find the pull-out hopper for your absorbent. Moving further to the right, SCBA bottle storage, and then also the fill location for the ultra low sulfur diesel fill, and also DEF fill location. A couple close-ups here of the hopper. When the tool board is fully open, to restore, release the mechanism. As we move back, ultra low sulfur diesel fill location silver cap. As we expose the flap downward, it exposes the blue 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. Michelin tires Alcoa wheel to the rear. As we move to the rear compartment, in the very top section, once again when plugged into shoreline power, this outlet will become active. As we move down to the very bottom, you'll find adjustable shelves, LED lighting in each compartment. Also, the pull-out tray has a lock mechanism. When it's fully outright, it will lock into position. Simply push down to release to restore. Let's go ahead and move around. Full side view, all compartments open. And now we'll move around to the rear section of the apparatus. We'll identify a few items within this area. First, let's start with the switches on the driver's side. Cup switch here for your deck lights and then also driver's side scene lights. We do have a warning placard here regarding fall hazard. When climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. As we move to the upper left, you'll find backboard storage for 2 backboards. Moving just down from this location, you'll find long-handled tool storage. Let's move down from this location where you'll find once again the warning placard regarding never ride on the vehicle while it's in motion, and then also when climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. As we move down to the tail light cluster, starting at the very top, you'll find a combination cluster holding an emergency warning light, brake, turn, and reverse. As we move toward the center, you'll find your traffic advisor. There are also 2 discharges located here, 2 2.5s on the left and on the right-hand side. I would like to point out a few warning placards in this area. First, we'll start with pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Also, you'll find your backup recessed camera. Just underneath that, you'll find a warning placard regarding entanglement hazard. Because of those lines coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. Moving further to the right, once again, pressure warning hazard. Let's move down to the roll-up compartment door in the very rear. Ventilation, LED lighting. Also within this compartment, a tray section, and in the upper portion of the compartment, an outlet. As we move to your ladder storage location, long-handled tool storage, 10-foot folding, 14-foot roof, 24-foot extension. Moving down, you also find passenger side scene lights and hose bed lights. Let's move around now to the passenger side. All compartments are currently open. We'll start to the very rear section. Same configuration and layout for the most part as we have on the driver's side. Adjustable shelves, LED lighting, dry deck material. In this compartment at the very top, we do have a 12-volt DC outlet. Moving forward to this location, SCBA bottle storage in addition with an oxygen bottle storage to the rear of the axle. As we move forward of the rear axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage with retaining straps. Let's move slightly downward from this location. This is where your exhaust is located. I would like to point out a warning. Extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen operations. Moving forward, adjustable shelves, LED lighting, and dry deck material. As we move to the pump panel area, we'll start at the very top section. This is going to be your crosslay. Same configuration and layout, crosslays 1, 2, and 3. Also an entanglement warning hazard. As we move down, we do have some access doors here. This is for your water strainer. And then also you'll find the location for your relief valve adjustment. Moving further down on the pump panel, once again, a warning because of pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. You'll also find your large diameter discharge and 2.5-inch discharge, primer drain, and water strainer drain. Also find the captain side auxiliary 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet, female locally controlled ball valve, and all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's move now back to the cab section. We'll move into the rear section of the cab. Let's first start with the door panel. Safety and warning placard information affixed to the door panel, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. You'll also find a folder holder in the lower section of the door area. As we move back inside the cab, once again, push on and off red or white lens lights. Just a few images here inside the cab area. As we move to the EMS compartments, you do have additional netting. Each of those have shelving, dry deck, and also compartment lights within inside. We're back now to the front axle, Michelin tires, Alcoa wheels, visual sight gauge in the front axle. Let's move into the officer space. First, let's start with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. Also, a folder holder located down in the lower portion of the door panel. Once again, this vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, an airbag. You'll also find a warning placard regarding mounting of any equipment within this area. As we move just to the left of the officer seat, we'll find 12-volt access via barrel style and then also USB style. As we move to the forward section on the officer side, you'll find your mechanical siren and air horn push buttons. You'll also find these red and white candy cane style labels. These are indicating spare wiring. Please do not remove. They also indicate the type of wiring and also the termination type. Let's move overhead. Same thing, you'll find additional candy cane style lettering regarding spare wiring behind this panel. As we move to the switch panel, you'll find a front scene and also a siren brake for your mechanical siren. Let's go back exterior now to the rear of the apparatus. There are 4 hose bed dividers that are movable. As we move to the top of the dunnage area, you'll find the top fill location for your water tank. You'll also find top fill location for your foam tank. Just as a warning, do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Back into the dunnage area, your booster line, we do have a manual rewind tool location, also free tension spool knob on the right hand side. As we move toward the center, you'll find your master stream device. And then moving further to the right, you'll find the hydraulic reservoir for your Husky 12. We do have a shut-off valve in the lower section, and then also a visual sight gauge indicator for the amount of hydraulic fluid in the tank. As we move to the cab area, just as a reminder, this is a non-walking surface, and that's why we have these warning placards indicating that it is a non-walking surface. The next set of images are going to be that of the chassis, engine. First, in the front section, we have attachment points. These are for firefighter operations. Just to the rear of that, this is for your tow operations. When the cab is fully tilted upright, please place the safety bar into the fixed location. Do not lower the cab onto the safety bar. You should have pressure behind both cylinders equally. Once again, the next several images is that of your chassis, engine, and then undersection of your vehicle. This will conclude the undersection and engine chassis components. Congratulations, Las Vegas, Nevada, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37397. If you have any questions regarding your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.